I want you and I to come to the place where we're no longer wrestling this out. And I did this for many years because I felt, well, surely if I've come to the Lord, shouldn't there be something else happen, right? How many wrestled with that? Is that it? Nothing else happens? Is that it? Like, did I miss the bus? Am I on the wrong bus going somewhere? Because I've heard about all these experiences that are supposed to happen, but Jesus met Peter and the rest of these that he called right in their everyday life in the midst of what they were doing. Quit trying to find some spiritual ecstasy in the telling and in the application, because the same way that he found those men is the same way he's finding men and women today. And I can't move past this point of my message without touching on what John says. John says in John 1, he came to his own received him not. But to as many as received him, to those he gave the power to become the sons of God. And it wasn't by the will of men, and it wasn't by blood, if you will. God did the calling to these. It was of God, but by God. I think to myself, especially now with new people who think, well, if she'll do an altar call, I'll answer that call today. I'm not doing an altar call, and I don't do one because I believe the only one who does the altar call is Christ. He's still calling men and women the same way. Now, you may think that it should happen a different way, but this is why this book of these evangelists is so precious. It tells us God's method with man, not man's idea of how God should, but God's method with man, how he comes to us just in everyday life and shows us a pattern, by the way. Now, there'll be people that will say, well, I've heard people use the expression, and I've spoken against this for 10 plus years, of accepting Christ. Very clearly, Jesus, in his own words, in the Gospel of John, in the 6th chapter, and if you want to spin there real quickly so we can say we went somewhere together. In the 6th chapter, in verse 44, Jesus says, no man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him. Now, for you old-timers, that's old news. But for new people listening to me, you're in a state of shock. You mean I don't decide? I know you want to sing the song, I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided. Well, good for you. It's not like you're going to get a pat on the back from me. What I'm saying is, this is repeated. No man can come to me. I wish I could spend a whole hour just on this. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. And then he repeats it again in verse 45. Every man therefore that hath heard and hath learned of the Father cometh unto me. And then he says it one more time in verse 65. Therefore said I unto you that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Father. Does that tell you that there's enough being said about the fact that God does indeed do the choosing? He says it elsewhere. I could find at least a dozen of these references. So the next time a person says to you, when did you accept the Lord? Just smile, because you can. Because the reality is, and this is the reality, this is a hard thing. People grapple with that fine line between what Paul talks about, the things that are predestined, foreordained. Oh boy, here we come. Then bring on the Calvinists and the Arminians, and we can have an arm wrestling match right here. I'm not going there. I'm just saying to you that there's something so very obvious to me in the Scriptures through and through, which is God spoke your name before you were ever here. Now, you have free will, and you have the right to exercise that free will, and then you have the right to turn your back. Like those, he came to his own received him not. Like Peter could have said, hey, I'm busy fishing today. Whoever you are out there, come back tomorrow. Could have been like that. But he knows who are his, and I'm just going to leave that at that.